Hey guys, today we're talking about the December 21st solstice. This is the winter solstice if you're in the northern hemisphere, and it is the shortest day of the year. If you are in the southern hemisphere, it's the longest day of the year, and it's the summer solstice. But I'm going to be talking in this video to those in the northern hemisphere. So this is the winter solstice video. So basically, the word solstice comes from the Latin word solstitium, which means the sun standing still. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second, but let's get into the science of the solstices a little bit. So in December, the northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun, which means that there's less direct sunlight and there's colder weather, right? Makes sense. And then in the winter time, in December, the lower part of the earth is basically closest to the sun, and they're experiencing their longest days, and this is their astronomical summer. In the northern hemisphere, we see that the sun takes its lowest and its shortest path across the southern sky during the December 21st solstice. Halfway between the winter and the summer solstices, because we have if you're in the northern hemisphere, this is your winter solstice on December 21st, and then the summer solstice will be at the ending of the spring. So halfway between those two, the winter and the summer solstice, we have the two equinoxes. We have the spring equinox and the fall equinox. And during those times, it's basically that we have an equal time between day and night. So the sunlight and the moonlight shines for equal hours of the day during the equinoxes. But during the solstices, during the winter solstice, the night is longer than the day. During the summer solstice, the day is longer than the night, depending on which hemisphere you are in, whether that be the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere. So without the axial tilt, the sun would remain directly about the equator. We would have equal days and nights if the Earth wasn't on a tilt, but because it's on a tilt, sometimes the northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun, like now, and other times the northern hemisphere is tilted closer to the sun, like the like the summer solstice, and that's the science of what we are talking about. So just as the winter solstice marks the point in the tilting of Earth's axis at which it points the furthest from the sun, the summer solstice marks the point at which our planet has its maximum axial tilt towards the sun. And obviously, again, this is the longest day versus the shortest day of the year, whether it's the winter or summer solstice. And a lot of people align their manifestations to these astrological and astronomical events. So basically, the longest day of the year, the Earth is closest to the sun. So technically, you can take on a lot of you can parallel your dreams, your goals, your aspirations, your beliefs about yourself and what you want to accomplish. You can parallel them to the pattern or just the system that's going on. Oh, the sun is at its longest, and you could say, well, this is a dream that I'm setting an intention for that is parallel to the fact that this is the longest day of the year. Right? This is what usually, if you're in the northern hemisphere, you can do that today. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you can do that today. That's what you do during the summer solstice. Also, because we're talking about the sun here, the sun is the astrological body that represents your identity. It represents, like you say, your sun sign. My sun sign is Aries, Capricorn, Pisces, whatever your sun sign is. In your birth chart, your sun sign, or the sun in astrology, it represents your identity, it represents your personality, it represents the core of who you are. And so the fact that this celestial body is closest to you during the summer solstice, so whenever the sun is closest to the earth, it is a time where you can really shine at your brightest. It's a time when you can really take on the energies of that astrological body, which metaphorically represents your identity, your personality, who you are, and things of that nature. So setting intentions related to your identity, your personality, your goals, who you want to be, who you want to become in life is perfect to do during the summer solstice. Again, if you're in the southern hemisphere, that is today, but December 21st. But if you are experiencing a winter solstice, it is a time when the astrological body that represents your personality and identity is the furthest away from the earth right now. So it's the furthest that it will be all year round. And so it's really more so a time of really internal digging and internal figuring out who you are. You don't have that energy from the sun to like almost like push you into that, because the sun is like so close to you. So you almost have to do the work yourself. You almost have to like figure out and go the extra mile to figure out exactly who am I, what have I been doing wrong, what have I been doing right, how can I change my path, how is life teaching me how to grow, what direction is life taking me. It's really a soul searching time, just like, again, parallel to the seasons and parallel to the time. If you're experiencing the winter time, it's a time of hibernation. It's a time when you're hoping for the crops to last until the spring comes. You're hoping for it's basically like you're hoping for sustenance. You're hoping for, it's a time to set manifestations to be able to make it until the summer solstice, or until the springtime. Actually, the summer solstice being the peak of like what it is that you're really waiting for. So during the winter solstice, the December 21st solstice, the shortest day of the year, it's like a pre-summer solstice. It's like a pre-time where you're setting the intention of who you're going to be by the time the summer solstice comes. Now, when the summer solstice comes, you're so in tune with who you are that you can magnify your intentions from the winter solstice with the powers of the sun that are so close to you now during the summer solstice, and use those combined energies to manifest greatness, or whatever it is that you want to manifest for yourself. Peace in your family, happiness in your life, a good new job, or whatever it is. But you had been working on yourself and you had been setting intentions for yourself since the December solstice, really figuring out your identity without the assistance of the sun, because it's the furthest away from you. So it was really you doing that work, and all that extra added work contributes to you being able to use that energy once the summer solstice comes in the summer, in the beginning of the summer. So now there's a method of thought that basically believes that, again, with the remember I said that solstice literally means sun standing still. It comes from the Latin word solstitium, which means the sun standing still. There's a method of thought that believes that around December 21st, when the winter solstice comes, and if you're in the northern hemisphere, that the sun is at its lowest point and it basically disappears, so you can't see it. And then obviously it's there, but you can't see it once it sets. You can't see it, whereas it'll get to a certain point in the sky, and most times you can see it going down and up, the sun setting, and then it's going back up. During the winter solstice, it goes down so low that you can't see it. And then for about 2 or 3 days, it stays there. And then by around December 24th, December 25th, you start to see it rising back up again. Now the days are getting longer and longer and longer. So there's a method of thought that as the sun is going through its transformation, like it's going through its death and rebirth, where you can't see it anymore, so it died, and then 3 or 4 days later you start to see it, so it had its rebirth. There's also this death and rebirth parallel between like you putting to bed certain things that you don't want to be anymore during the winter solstice, and then you take on your rebirth, your regeneration, your metamorphosis from who you put to bed, and maybe what served you in the past but is no longer serving you, and now you take on your metaphorical identity of who you are becoming and what it is that you want to do. So again, it's just a time where the sun is not assisting you because it's at its furthest away from the earth, whereas in the summertime you really get that energy from the sun. It's almost like the sun is like if you were walking and you were getting a push, you know, from the sun's energy. But being that when the sun is furthest away from the earth, you actually have to do all that extra work yourself. So it's a perfect time to set death and rebirth intentions. By death and rebirth I just mean metamorphosis. Who am I changing into? Who am I growing into? Who am I developing into? So this is a perfect time to journal, to write down your identity, your dream you, and to write down how you're going to put certain things to bed and take on new aspects of who you want to become and what it is that you want to do. It says here, many of our predecessors' winter solstice celebrations marked their celebrations of the death and rebirth, or even the theft and return of the sun. The rebirth of and the coming of the sun is a very significant time, and that's what the winter solstice represents. So it's the shortest day of the year if you're in the northern hemisphere, but it is the time where the death and the rebirth of the sun represents it could represent your parallel of what it is that you want to put to death in your life and how you want to rise from the ashes as a phoenix and as the new you. So it's not a time, well, I'll leave it at that for now. So that's what I have. Next year, I'm going to do a full-blown video longer on what the winter solstice is. For sure, for the summer solstice, I'm going to do another video as well.